Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of the X Button, Season 4, Episode 16, also global, Episode 147. I am your host, Alejandro, and making his surprise for this year 2 week in a row appearance.
Hey everybody, I am still unemployed.
Yeah. How you doing, Paul?
I am doing as well as one can be.
Yeah.
I am in a new house. I
Hmm.
am excited about that. It's a little bit bigger than our previous place. Looks almost identical, but I'm
Uh-huh.
in a different room of it, and I have a nice bookshelf behind me. So eventually, some people might get to see that.
Yeah, but they won't because you have the background compared to last week's
Yes,
episode.
I have my background back, so
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about seeing anything from my personal life at all until I have a child, and then he'll show up periodically.
Yeah. Can you believe it's almost 3 episodes away from episode 150?
Mm-mm. No,
150, 100.
it's what a time it's been, huh?
Yeah.
4 years.
Hmm. Yeah,
Ugh.
because since we restarted in 2021 and also 5 years, in those 13 episodes that we mulliganed, that are still there, but they're
Mm-hmm.
just not like in podcast feeds, they just exist there in
They
YouTube.
certainly do exist. My
Yeah.
goodness. Well, anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
We're
glad to
here.
be here. Glad to do things. And we're playing stuff still,
Mhm.
despite it all. So,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Hopefully everything like eventually like falls into place for you. But also, I was kind of thinking that maybe this layup happening when it did when you were moving was kind of like a blessing in disguise. Imagine if you had to still had to go to work and then had to like work and move in between and all that. It's like
Oh, I'm kind of glad the way that it worked out, just because I don't think I would have been able to survive very well working a full-time job and having to move my house for a second time. My
mm-hmm,
parents did the math recently when they came to visit me, and my whole family of
mm-hmm.
4 people has moved a total of 10 times in the last 4 years.
Damn, you're
Um,
nomads.
just we, gosh, we went from like I've lived in 2 houses my whole life, and now to that. So hopefully this is the last move for a very good while until we can build another place on our land.
Yeah, but that's kind of like the thing. You're in a place that you built. You didn't just buy that house, so that's like that. That's kind of like the
Yep.
different. You're living the blessing that a lot of people are like suffering for like around this time, for there's barely any chance to get any of your own property because everything is like being absorbed for rental, for perpetual rentals and
Yep.
all that. Like despite everything, there's like you still were dealt some sort of good hand, despite you had to like get the axe, like many people in many industries. But glad to have you here. We're here to have a little escape. We're actually like weirdly enough, yeah, this episode now is going on Thursday, like we promised 2 weeks ago. And last week, obviously, like went late because of your situation, and you wanted to be here. But
Mhm.
we're kind of like doing it old school, recording in the morning, which is weird. We haven't done that in like forever. Remember when we used to record very late at night, like when we started?
Yeah, there was one that was like 12:30 or something.
Yeah, like almost midnight.
Uh-uh. No.
Yeah,
No
then
good.
we moved to mornings, and then like we did the afternoon. So it's like we're back to that morning era of like the 2021 episodes. So, and me and kind of glad because I'm like, yeah, we can get this like get done. Like I'll have even more time not to edit it. I don't have to like be stressed out about it, or kind of like the desire of playing something while I'm like editing. That was always the problem. But yep, uh, Thursday show once again, and yeah, time to escape. And just a reminder, this is the X Bottom podcast, our gaming podcast that posts every Thursdays from 10 a.m. onwards, God willing. Available on the YouTube channel Escape Gaming, as well as most other services around the world, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the like. You can find links in the RSS feed at tinyurl.com/escapegaming. If you enjoy our show, give us a like and subscribe. So, Paul, I went back to Final Fantasy 16 last week. You went back now this week, right? You've been
Mhm.
playing it, so tell me,
As of
how's
yesterday?
yeah, it's still this week.
Yep.
How's the
So
return to
it is
Valistia treated you?
it is a time, I tell you. I had like an entire truncated experience revisiting Final Fantasy 16, and its highs and lows, because I have a wonderfully convoluted playthrough situation right now because I have my original, which is
Mm-hmm.
where the DLC, and I'll speak on that in a second, is, and then my Final Fantasy mode playthrough on my original playthrough of that,
Mm-hmm.
which now I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to go back again after I finish the DLC to start
Mm-hmm.
that over, because I can't have access to any of my stuff in it right now, which is a real shame. Um, but one thing at a time. Uh, I went through. I kind of like ran around the hub area, re-experienced some of just the worst side quests,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like, why did I like this game again? Just
Uh-huh.
like I know I liked it. I know I
Yeah.
liked it.
Yeah.
That where was it? And like I remember the spectacle, but I knew there was more to it that besides the spectacle as well. And then I played Echoes of the Fallen.
Mm-hmm.
I started that. It was a real like, all right, gang, there's another mystery afoot. Let's go handle it now. And,
Mm-hmm.
like it really felt like those comics from Avatar: The Last Airbender when like
Mm-hmm.
the gang got back together and there's a new thing for them to do. It's like, oh, it's a new adventure. We got Jill, we got Joshua, we got Clive, we got Torgal.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, this is kind of nice. And it's so weird that you wait the entire game to have a full party.
Yeah. Instead of just one or the other, it's like finally like a full party of four with you all the time. So.
Yep. And I realized that was really what I was missing the whole way through my first Final Fantasy 16 playthrough.
Mm-hmm.
And now, while I'm really glad that it's there and I get to get the best part of that, it also kind of sucks that especially if I want to go back and replay, I'm not going to get that same feeling because
Mm-hmm.
it's just going to be me and Torgal or me, Torgal, and one other character that's going to rotate
Mm-hmm.
depending on the chapter. And I let me just talk about the DLC now. So that was an interesting experience because I kind of forgot like what it was, but I
Mm-hmm.
also do remember finding the gate to that thing,
And it's
and
been
it's like,
locked.
hey, this
Uh-huh.
is locked. Oh, there might be something else that we can do about this later. And I always thought it was going to be like the crypts from Final Fantasy 15, where there's
Mm-hmm.
like several of them scattered around, and you get to find them eventually. And it turned out it wasn't that; it was the DLC hook. So
Yeah.
going in and it's all like modernish and like creepy looking. I love the tower aesthetic. It's like a
The
weird
organ.
endless
The
the organ,
organ
yes.
song.
Yes. That was solid. I do wish there was a different combat song because it
Mm-hmm.
was the same one over and
Mm-hmm.
over again. I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's just the same, but that's fine, whatever. Because everything else was really cool about that. It was like this endless cathedral looking vibe to it,
It's
and
like
where it would
a
like
mix of Castlevania sci-fi, like together. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was trying to nail down like exactly like there was something that I feel like I've seen before with that. But it was pretty cl like Castlevania's pretty close to what it was in the end because it's got that like science-y, a little bit like hint of sci-fi, where it's like the things shouting at you in computer lingo the whole time, and they're like, "What the hell is an autonomous defense system?"
Uh-huh.
I just got to the final boss. I
Omega.
assume
Mm.
no, it's okay, so maybe it's not then. It's that giant spider looking thing, unless that is Omega.
Yeah, it's like big robot
Okay,
in like a
cool.
sci-fi
I
place.
just
Yeah.
I didn't get to really fight it because I got to it and
Mm-hmm.
then it was like, all right, it's 10:30, I got to get off.
Mm-hmm.
Um so I you were right that they definitely ramped up the difficulty at a certain point because at
Mm-hmm.
first I was like, "Oh, I'm crushing everything. What the heck is going on? This isn't even a fight." And then all of a sudden I was like, "Oh, okay. I
Mm-hmm.
missed like one dodge and most of my health was gone. All right,
Mm-hmm.
I get it."
Yeah.
I've got my setup that I still like to sit through. Um, I don't really change it very much. I should, I really should, but I don't want to go through the effort
Yeah. It's
of
very.
resetting everything.
Yeah, it's very hard. Like I will say though that now you have the loadouts. If you go to the icon menu, so you can at least like keep that one loadout and maybe have the other ones where you can experiment. Because
That's
I.
what I'm thinking of doing. I saw the notification for it and I was like, I'm gonna file that away for later, and then I just never came back to it.
Mhm.
But I was mostly trying to get a lot of progress last night when I was playing. And I'm glad I did because I put some work in on that, and hopefully this means that I'll finish this,
Hmm.
go beat the crap out of Omega, and then start Rising Tide.
Yeah, which is a
So
much
that'll
better
be cool.
DLC. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
though the atmosphere of Echoes of the Fallen I like a little better. Rising Tide is like a more complete experience. Like the side quests still have a little bit of kind of like that malaise of they love talking to you a lot. They love world
Hmm.
like this thing is like obsessive about its world building and explain to you almost like the minute details when you're in like in those conversations. And if you like world building, this is totally for you. But I had now coming from Rebirth, something that I really love about doing those side quests was how personal they always felt, how like not too wordy they felt when they were like explaining to you, and a lot of storytelling was happening while you were playing. So there's you notice a lot how in 16 you stop playing a lot because it's like it has a very constant start and stop flow that
Hmm.
it's kind of like I put it because I put my review for the Rising Tide over at Season Gaming. I gave it an 8.5. I gave this one Echoes of the Fallen an 8 back in December. I gave the overall game a 9, but it was like it's epic spectacle and fun combat in between valleys of slow build up. That's always been
Yeah.
the Final Fantasy 16 experience, where Rebirth is like a more entertaining journey throughout. It's just like the peaks of 16 are incredibly high. It's kind of like the difference. Like you sometimes forget that the long trudge to get to those peaks because you just remember the peaks. Whereas Rebirth, you remember a lot of the minute to minute moments of you
Hmm.
bonding with your party, the emotional moments of just the conversations around them. That's kind of like why I personally prefer Rebirth, but I still like 16, and I can't wait for you to get the Leviathan power when you get it because you were
I'm
kind of mentioning
excited.
kind of like you were thinking of going back to maybe doing a Final Fantasy mode thing. Is the fact that you can then start like a new game plus with that icon ability plus another one that unlocks after you do the two DLCs that are so OP and broken that is like it makes Final Fantasy mode almost trivially easy to the point that I had to kind of like create a new build a new build that have a few of the abilities from those icons but keeping the other so it doesn't become just a complete cakewalk and I just kind of like just snooze through the whole thing. So I kind of got one I kind of got a good flow going of something that still feels kinetic, has a little bit of challenge but still feels powerful. And there are a few trinkets you get in Echoes of the Fallen that now feel like an RPG. Oh yeah, do this perfect dodge for quicker recharge of your icon abilities. Oh, this trinket will increase stagger damage by 200% or things like that. And
Oh
it's just
shoot.
like, remember what the trinkets were before? Oh yeah, 5% damage increase of this thing was like, what is 5% damage? This is like
Hmm.
in like minimal. It's like this is bullshit. It's like
Yeah.
this is not worth using. So,
I think the only things that I use are like cooldown buffs, because there's just no point in anything else. Like
mm,
I think I found what I liked near the start of the game, and then I touched no other accessories the whole rest of the time, which was ridiculous, and I felt like such a waste of the potential.
mm,
So I'm glad that there's some more of that in there. I've literally still only seen gameplay of Leviathan's powers.
uh,
And I have no idea what the other one is.
oh yeah.
I have no idea what the icon is, the
Mm-hmm.
name, any of it. So it's actually really exciting to know that like there's still a surprise somewhere in there. But you're
Yeah.
saying that you don't get that till after the DLC's
Yeah,
done?
you have to beat Leviathan, and then after you beat Leviathan, there's gonna be a few more side quests that open for Rising Tide. But at that point, if you beat an Echoes of the Fallen and beat Leviathan, there's gonna be like an extra side quest where you're like, hey, there's something here, go over here, and then over at the Hideaway, and then that's where you get it. That
Hmm,
and there's a
interesting.
you get it so that way that you can do some of the other side quests that are actually really good. That's kind of my thing with Rising Tide. They have the best side quests because it's like a lot of them now feel very rewarding. Before there was like barely any reward. The reward was kind of like the story, so you really needed to love the world building for those side quests to feel worthy. Other than the one that are like plus sign that you knew that you were getting like a game changing reward, like when you get Ambrosia, the uh, the bird, the chocobo. Yeah, so
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot that was its name.
yeah, it's a
Okay, that makes more sense.
so it's like it wasn't it was only those plus sign things that were always give you something like okay, this actually added something to the game now. And then like the question mark, the exclamation point side quests were usually just world missions that were just for world building. It was rare for you to get a really like important one until you eventually did. That's where the loyalty quest for Joshua Jill kind of happened. Like near the end, they were not plus signs; they
Right.
were just exclamation points. So it was like I remember I pointed you specifically to few. It was like, please get to this one, please get to this one, please get to this, so you can get like
I'm
those
glad
moments.
that
Yeah.
you at least told me to do those because I
Hmm.
think I would have burned through trying to get to the end of that game, and man, that would have messed me up not having that like extra connection point.
Yeah, I'll say, Paul, I have been seeing videos of people doing insane combos of this game that I'm like, gosh, I think I'm good with this game. It's like there's some people who are way too crazy with like the things that you can do with this
Oh
combat
yeah.
system.
And I'm the same way with Devil May Cry. When I see some people doing stuff like that and I know what it takes to actually pull off any of those, I'm like, I'm gonna break either my thumb or my
Mhm.
controller trying to pull off any of that, and it's not worth the fact that you probably kill the thing
Mhm.
way faster than all of that. And it's like, what are you gonna do? Just go into the that little tower mode where you
Mhm.
get the training enemy?
Mhm.
That's not worth it. So
Yeah.
you just kind of have fun with it as
Exactly.
best
Yeah.
you can.
Yeah. It's so fun. Is like it's the game doesn't even push it to have to go that crazy. It's just it's like that's always been like the Devil May Cry things. Like you can get through with the bare minimum in a way unless you're like in super hard or difficulty. But even then, like the super hard difficulty thing, the thing that people are doing, it's more for show off than actual requirement. But to me,
Oh
it's
yeah.
kind of crazy that that's how like those. This is not just like a match combos game. It's like it's just match your abilities, like change your abilities in different ways. That's what the combo way of this game. So you've also been playing Kingdom Hearts 1 still. Like you've
Yeah,
kept at
I
it.
have not given up on that. Part of it's because of the comfort level.
Mm-hmm.
Um and part of it is because I want to eventually go back through at least like
Two?
the entries of the series that I like. I might actually skip two temporarily
Mm-hmm.
because I have not replayed three.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like I need like I don't even remember what happened in most of
Yeah.
three. So like I might just restart a storyline from
Mm-hmm.
there, and it'll make it really clear of like the visual jump from one to three
Mm-hmm.
because of how much has happened in between.
You can
Part of
still
me,
you can still
oh,
feel
go
it
ahead.
from 2 to 3 also. It's like
Oh yeah, but
it's like
I mean, just
clear.
like I want to see the like the full series jump, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like you watch the first season of a show and then you
Uh-huh.
watch the last season just for the fun of it. I've played two so many times I could quote like half of that game, so I'm fine with like temporarily holding off on that because that's so much of a comfort game for me that I could just put it on at any time
Mm-hmm.
to
Two is
replay
so
it.
good.
But
Two is so
yeah,
good.
so I there's also a motivation because I've never actually finished one all the way through.
Really? Huh.
I got very close to the end and I was not leveled up enough and I was too young to like understand.
The
It's the same
Amson fight.
concept.
The Amson
It
fight.
always have it happens. So I mean, it took me probably weeks to beat Riku that first time,
Mm-hmm.
so it was that kind of a playthrough. Also, I'm realizing that I don't know how I managed to figure out how to go anywhere in Kingdom Hearts 1
Yeah.
because it's so bad at telling you where to go and what to do. I was going through Halloween Town, and then it's like you have to go around a
Yeah,
wall and
yeah,
then to
I know
go
which
that.
part. I know which part. Where you see this,
Then you
where you
have,
see the big moon, but like the area where
yeah,
you go for to see the big moon. Yeah.
and then you have to like go through the right area, and then you go up to a random thing and have to hit now it's triangle, but it used to be like directional buttons, whatever. But like you have to do that and then it teleports you into the next area. It's like not at all conducive to understanding what to actually do. Same thing for like go to a random gravestone. I had a feeling because it was very similar to 2, but like I would have never figured that out. You
Mm-hmm.
go to this one area and it teleports you back to the start of that, so you have to
Mm-hmm.
go through it again and you can't interact with anything when enemies are nearby, so you
Mm-hmm.
have to kill all the enemies again. Oh, it makes me so glad that I boosted myself with magic this time because I was
Mm-hmm.
an idiot the first time I played and I boosted defense
Oh,
and
not even
gave
strength.
up.
Oh.
No, I boosted defense and I gave up magic. Okay, so
Mm,
you can imagine how bad I set myself up for failure with
yeah.
that. Um, I cannot believe what I did with that situation because I thought it was like, oh yeah, the shield's kind of cool. All right, let's rock with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was such a bad mistake. So no wonder I sucked so much because I didn't understand how like, oh, you get different abilities based on that choice. I just thought it changed my stats.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, this time around, I'm crushing everything. I am destroying all of it. I've just blasting through most of the combat encounters. The only ones that I've had trouble on were the dude in the Tarzan zone
Uh-huh.
because of course, and oh, what did I have trouble with? I don't think I've had like anything else.
Yeah,
Ursula gave me some frustration just because I couldn't figure out what to do with her, but everything else I think I've blown
I
through.
hate the Little Mermaid level. I
Yeah.
hate that level so much.
I
Like the
moved
layout of that
so
one.
quick.
Yeah.
I worked so quickly through that one because I remember what screwed me up was the dolphin. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't understand that I had to interact with a dolphin that drove would
Mm-hmm.
ride me
Up the
up.
stream. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, like why did they think that was fine? It was like you had to go to school and ask your friends. It's just like, hey buddy, what do I do? I don't understand what's going on here.
Old school, baby. Old school gaming
Dude,
design.
that was how it worked, man. But anyway, all of that said, I love how much charm and love there is in every like animation. I
Mm-hmm.
love how floaty the clothing is on Sora. Like every
Mm-hmm.
movement, it moves with him all the time, and I feel like that's a lost art now
Mm-hmm.
because everything has so many polygons that it's not worth letting it move on the person's body.
Mm-hmm.
So you just get this weird static uh outfit for a lot of things, and like Kingdom Hearts has always been great about it, but I feel like I'm comparing it to a lot of other things. Unless you just invest so much money in it, you just don't get that movement all that much. I mean, even look at Final Fantasy 16, you get the Kate movement and that's
Mm-hmm.
about it.
Yeah.
Because like that's the point also because he's got armor and whatever, but like, oh man, there's just something about getting to watch Sora run around. His hair just flops with
Mm-hmm.
every like jump and everything.
Yeah.
It's just lovely, and I love it, and I want to go back to the rest of the series.
Yeah, you remind me I have to continue my Kingdom Hearts 2 save that I was kind of like concurrently playing after I was like done with Rebirth or another because I was kind of like in
Mm-hmm.
that
I remember.
I need more of the Final Fantasy 7 characters and they're all in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, so I kind of need.
Yeah.
And obviously there's kind of like a sort of canon Cloud versus Sephiroth like moment in Kingdom Hearts 2.
Hmm.
So I was like, yeah,
It
kind of.
was it's very funny because Aerith calls Sephiroth Cloud's friend.
Yeah.
I went back at one point. They were like, "Hey, did you meet a guy with spiky yellow hair in the Coliseum?" And I was
Uh-huh.
like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh yeah, I think he's still searching for his friend. If he's mean to you, just like don't think too much about it." And I
Uh-huh.
was like, "Oh, this is like in hindsight, all of this is wild." But just the fact that Aerith of all people calls Sephiroth Cloud's friend like that,
Uh-huh.
it very much gave me a different image of the series when I finally went back to play it. And I was like, I don't know if they're friends, Aerith. I don't know about that.
Yeah, if you look at from the Zack perspective, he was
Yeah,
Sephiroth's friend after before he
with
went
Zack,
bananas. Yeah.
absolutely that makes more sense. But like Cloud, it was like, oh, okay, this is a weird interpretation of all of
Hmm.
those events. But yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I love
Anyway,
Kingdom.
yeah.
I love Kingdom Hearts. As saccharine as it can be, as like overly
Mhm.
dramatic and that's stilted dialogue delivery. There's just something about Kingdom Hearts. Like it really was. Like even just going back to 2, when I repicked up my save that I had like from last year when I kind of like went back. When I was going through the Pixel remaster, that I remember I was like, man, all this terminology in the original Final Fantasy, it's all in Kingdom Hearts. And then immediately I was like, download, and I replayed Kingdom Hearts 1 again.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so it's like I definitely want to go back to that one. Um, I was still playing 16 because I was doing the Final Fantasy mode. I made it past Accept the Truth. Now finally, kind of like where I am in like the replay, going into like the
Mhm.
first crystal, but I'm also kind of doing everything again, just to kind of acclimatize myself to those side quests and like the flow of the world and all that. And
Yeah.
it just reconfirms kind of like my preference for Rebirth, but I still like 16. But at the same time, like I get the most out of that game when I'm not listening to like a podcast or I get to like immerse myself because it's like because of its pace that because I had so much podcasts to catch up on, I finally started Into the Light for Destiny 2, like the new the recent extra event that they added for Destiny 2 this year because of the delay
Yep.
for the final shape. We should have been already like 2 months after the final shape around this time, based on the original release of that expansion. That's still like coming soon on June 4th. Into the Light obviously is like it was them finally adding that horde mode, and God, is it so good. It's like I cannot believe it took them almost 10 years for them to finally cave in and just do horde mode again. It's like Bungie is usually so obsessed of not wanting to repeat their like past glories, or at least kind of like do another version of things, because they're always, that's kind of like where Gambit came from. Like
Yeah.
around the time where everyone was doing a battle royale, everyone was like, so Bungie, where's your version of battle royale? How are you gonna do it? And they're like, we're doing something different. And that's kind of like where Gambit came from. And initially a lot of people praised them because they were like, oh, we didn't know we needed this like weird PvPvE hybrid. But then it's like that mode got destroyed. It was like it got like so unbalanced, and they never really like supported it afterwards. So it's like Gambit is always there, kind of like a shambling corpse, like staring at you as like, yeah, you can earn weapons here and like pinnacles, but it's like, we're not supporting it. We still have the same 4 damn maps because we took 2 out. But Onslaught, I'm like, if y'all want to kill Gambit and replace it with this, I'll take it, because I don't know if you noticed, 2 of those maps are multiplayer maps.
Yep.
The Midtown
Midtown.
and Bostock. So it's like, if
I only play on Midtown.
yeah, I like Bostock a lot. I like the vibe of Bostock. My least favorite is the Mothlands, the one like at the Cosmodrome. That is kind of like
Yeah.
kind of like the outskirts. I don't like the design of that one
I think
because
that
of
was
the
the first one I tried, and that's when I was like, this is what everyone's saying they like. And then I played one on Midtown, and I went,
no,
oh, okay, I
Midtown's
get it
really good.
now.
Yeah, there's a tightness to Midtown. Like I was doing the Mountaintop and Forbearance quest, also with my Forbearance that I got from the raid. That is like you have to get multiple kills with like a grenade launcher, and I have one that has the wave frame with chain reaction. So it was like shoot, and it was just like a complete like explosion of enemies in that Midtown tap, and completed my Mountaintop and Forbearance quest really quick. Now I'm trying to do the Hammerhead one, which is the everyone's favorite machine gun, like machine gun from the Forsaken era, because that's when they brought back machine guns, and Hammerhead was like the goat. Is like, I recommend, like, if you needed to like, because I think you said Midnight Coup, it was like your next one, the hand cannon.
Yeah.
I recommend that one because they actually made Midnight Coup an even better hand cannon than it was. And
Excuse me.
I've been seeing some insane rolls, like a Firefly Frenzy, like in separate ones that I'm
I've
like,
seen or I've heard of like how many really good PvE
mhm.
roles it has for it, and that's what motivated me to do that, because while my Fatebringer is great, I feel like there's something about it that I don't know if it's getting boring for me,
Yeah,
or
it's that.
especially now that it's got the auto fire, it's not as accurate because
Hmm.
it's hard to like. I basically just have to keep pulling it as if it's a manual trigger now.
It has a lot of bloom, like the
Hmm.
bloom that moves it. So it's like you cannot, you have to play like old school, like having to
Right.
tap, because it's just not something
Which,
to just keep spraying.
yeah, and that hurts my fingers pretty bad. And it feels like it's hard for me to get precision strikes with it unless the enemy is close enough.
Hmm.
Because for some reason, sometimes like the auto aim will help me out, and then I'll get it. But sometimes I feel like I'm not getting the firefly shots as much as I'd like to.
What mod do you have in the gun? Minor
I can't
spec,
remember
major spec.
right now.
Make sure you have targeting adjuster, because that's gonna like help the bullet hit the heads better.
I was
So
actually going to ask about that because I never know what to put in any of that. Some people are like, it's different for the gun, and it's like, I don't really care.
mhm.
I just want something that's going to
Yeah,
help me the most.
the mods are always depending on how you want to use it in combat. Is this gun
Right,
for like the rank and file? Put minor spec. Rank and file are the
right.
red bars. Is this gun something that you want to use on slightly tankier enemies? Orange bars. Put major spec. Is this gun like in the heavy slot? You always want to have boss spec, because it's like heavy. Your heavy weapons are usually gonna be the yellow bar enemies. So
Right.
that's kind of how you can kind of
I
like
think I need to
mix it.
revisit some of that because I used to have uh like a lot of enemies just die too quickly for minor spec,
Mm-hmm.
so, for it to be even worth it. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking that targeting adjuster to try to get more precision damage out of it is going to help me out because that's the whole point of
Yeah,
Firefly.
Scout and hand cannon work better with a targeting adjuster because of
You
process
know,
of that.
what also messes me up is because I have a really good hung jury that has Firefly on it, and then I don't have this issue with that because the zoom is better.
Mm-hmm.
The hand cannon is just such a tiny little like,
Dot.
all right,
Mm-hmm.
there's your little dot.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what's messing me up too, actually. Because my hung jury is rapid hit and
Ooh, rapid hit
Firefly.
Firefly. That's like the god roll right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love it so much. So all of these like hung juries that are popping up here and there, I was like, doesn't move the needle for me
No,
enough. I already got what
you
I
already
got.
got one. Yeah, I'm kind of like just waiting to get like good enough rolls, and I just that's how I want to play because there's some people that love like obsessively like playing and replaying and replaying and Destiny to get just very
Yep.
specific roles, and that's where you can end up hating it because that's like at the mercy of RNG. I'm trying to get just good enough rolls. Like I've gotten 3 different roles for the Recluse, which is the returning submachine gun that for almost an entire year was like the god tier submachine gun of the game. It used to have like a perk called Master of Arms, which was like the best kind of like damage perk post kill. That was kind of think of it like Rampage, but instead of having to build Rampage for 3 times 3, like Master of
Yep.
Arms, uh, would immediately like give you extra damage and would give you like precision damage on body shot. Like so you could just like so you could just spray that weapon after like one kill. They've sort of nerfed Master of Arms because it was so damn good, but it's still kind of like pretty good because it's like a good way for you to have like a damage one that's not like specifically a precision shot or just like a body shot or having to build that up, kind of like a adrenaline junkie and all of that. So, but I also
Yep.
got like a good one called Enlightened Action Target Lock, and I really like how that one feels because Enlightened Action is kind of like rapid hit, but without like precision shots. And, tar-
Yeah.
and target lock, obviously, as long as you're always just spraying on an enemy, it's just immediately like slowly like builds damage. So there's enough combinations. I'm like, I can have some variety depending on like the situation. I even have like a subsistence destabilizing rounds if I want to just like volatile,
Hmm.
but volatile explode like a bunch of rank and files. It's like the weapons Into the Light are literally historically have been some of the most popular in Destiny history. And it was like some of the most painful sunsets that happened because it was like power creep was getting out of hand. But now you know what's happening with Final Shape. It's like
Yeah.
they don't care about power creep enough because they want people to have fun, and that's work. A lot of the Destiny community has been re-energized by this Into the Light mode. On top of finally, like I feel Onslaught has been the most fun I had with an activity in Destiny, even more than seasonal activities. Like, there's just something about wave-based stuff that puts combat front and center with
Oh yeah.
with very little like mechanical complexity, other than stand in this like star aura to like take out the shield of like of maybe a boss that's kind of coming in, but it's all in service of combat. In the seasonal other seasonal stuff is like, stand on this plate, move through this, kind of like the coil that happened with this season. I was like, this is I get the idea, but this is not, the weapons are not that great, so I'm not feeling the motivation to do that. And if you go to the 50 waves of Into the Light, especially post patch yesterday, you can get so many drops like as you go. It's like
Yeah.
it's so rewarding. We talked about how like when we played Diablo 4 last year, we were like,
Hmm.
dang, this thing showers you in loot. It's like Destiny's like really stingy. They're like scamming us of like how unrewarding it feels in comparison. And this mode has been like the complete opposite of like, no, you want loot because we know you're trying to farm stuff. We have so many weapons. You can. I saw Paul Tassi got 7 guns of the
Oh
wave
my
50 of
goodness.
the wave 50 clear. So like at the like at the very end, so it's like that is so cool, especially if you're into farm rolling. And this has kind of like put into light the what crafting did to the game, because crafting really de-emphasized a lot the repeatability of trying to like play an activity to get like a better roll. Obviously, because RNG tended to be really bad, so it was like I'm wasting my time trying to like get RNG and never kind of getting the right thing. But then what that ends up doing is just disincentivizing if it's just you wanting to get a crafting. But I feel like crafting would have not been a problem had they not done enhanced perks. The enhanced perks of crafting is what ruined loot chase, because it's like, why would
Hmm.
I ever want to just like a god roll, random roll, when I can craft the weapon for the enhanced versions of those god rolls. It's
Yep.
like, and they should have never done enhanced perks at all. That should have never been the thing. Like crafting should have just been kind of like that very long term like solution for people that were having like bad luck with crafting, but instead they made crafting too important. And now they're adding a system pretty soon about like enhancing a random roll that you get. So it's like, okay, so you get the perks of like the enhanced perks, but you're getting them through gameplay, through the farming. What's important about loot is like they're finally kind of like getting it. They're finally getting to the point where Destiny becomes a more fun game again to just play instead of and that's kind of what had been missing. That's kind of like why I had just fallen off. On top of like the quality had just not been there. So this has been a really re-energizing time. That when the second exotic mission drops, which is the 0 hour, we got you, me and Fire got you through Whisper, which
Yep.
was like the very first exotic mission of the game that they brought back. Like the other one's even better. Like 0 hour is like
Mhm.
all the good stuff is finally making their way back into the game. Good guns are finally back. And then having all of this on top of what we're getting with Final Shape finally, it's like I feel
Yeah.
hope for Destiny again. That now I'm like eager whenever I see the clan, with the exception of a certain someone that I'm not gonna mention. Like if they want to play, I'm feeling more incentivized to be like I want to. And it's kind of like what I texted is like Destiny's so bad for me when it comes to like addiction level. It's like
Mhm.
it felt really good like getting away from that because I've been able
Uh,
to play all these games, but being back into the light is like god damn. It's like it's the addiction, the bug addiction for Destiny because it just when Destiny's good, like when it's actually really good, it's dangerous because rarely any game feels it's good to play as that. That's kind of like always. It's always been a blessing that its good gameplay has always been surrounded by bad stuff
yeah.
because then it's like you can find like an excuse to go play other stuff. But
Yeah.
then it's like when it's both good and plays as
Yeah.
well and as satisfying as it does, like you dropped off Helldivers 2 right now because it's like they're finally
Mhm.
hit some few updates that didn't quite hit the needle. So it's
Right.
like, and this game feels better to play than Helldivers. It.
Definitely.
Mm,
Helldivers is a very different kind of game, and I still love it to
mm,
death. But Destiny is a game that I can play by myself without
mm.
any issues,
Yeah.
and that's a big deal for me.
Mm,
So it stays right at the back of right at the back of my mind. But the fact that they finally brought in something that is so simple of like, all right, we're gonna drop you in an area, just
mm,
keep killing stuff and protect the thing. And I
mm.
was like, easy, say
Yeah.
no more. I'm done. I'm good. And so now I've done at least two full finishes, yeah, of
Mm.
50 waves now.
I got two way 49. That was so
That's got to
heartbreaking.
be
Ah,
heartbreaking because
yeah.
it's a long time sink to
Mm,
throw yourself into that for so long. I looked at the timer, it was like at least an hour
mm,
of just like you got to be on it. You can't take any breaks, unless you play with any friends, and then you're like,
mm,
all right, we're at the boss thing. Take a
mm,
second, because if you're playing with randos, it's like, all right, you got to be ready. They're
mm.
gonna hit the thing. They're gonna do the rally flag and run
Yeah.
straight in. So you better get running.
Yeah, the one that I almost got to level 50 was because we had a blueberry that was a Banner of War Titan, which is like the
Okay.
green. So it was like,
Yeah, yeah.
yes, it's helping. And then he got disconnected. So it was just the two of us, and then
Oh,
he got
that's
melted. I was like, that
yeah.
sucks. That we had the guy that was like rallying us because Banner of
Mhm.
War is like really really good to like
It's very good.
give protection and damage buff if you're within the Banner of War, which is really cool. Kind of.
Which is crazy that the two times that I've finished it, I have not run a Banner of War strand. I have run, excuse me, I have run a suspension
Hmm.
build
Yeah,
that
for.
Fallout Plays did,
Mm,
where you have the like bolo
mm,
grenade. You have some other stuff that just suspends all the enemies. Of course, like you have the Strand exotic leg armor for
mm.
the Titan,
Yeah,
and
for the three wave
nothing can
thing.
hurt you when they're hovering 10 feet in the air.
Uh,
So you kind of like throw all of that down. Nothing can move closer to the objective. Nothing can kill you,
mm,
and it's very nice to do all that. It's less damage, but it really prioritizes like stopping things from getting to where they need to go.
Hmm.
So I've loved that, and I want to branch out and do more like maybe my Arc Titan again, or
Hmm.
some other things, because it's weird, like keeping yourself alive is only half of the fight with that. You have to
Hmm.
make sure they can't get to where they're going.
And
Um,
what I love the
it's
most about
tricky.
what I love about the most about this mode is that at least in the normal like 1600 level, not like the legend level, which I've heard people say like it's that's just for bragging rights. It's like just play normal, like just play the
You
1600
get
because
so much from it.
yeah, and it scales in difficulty halfway through. I can try every build that I want with this mode. As long as like I know
Yeah.
that I have some a few champion mods because a few they always throw those in, but being restricted to like a meta play always eventually got so restrictive in Destiny. And I've been seeing a lot of people like test different builds while they're playing this, and I'm like, yeah, because it's like a at its core is like very simple. It's a very simple mode, which is so funny. It's like keep it simple, people. You don't need to overcomplicate
You.
stuff. It's like this is the thing that you just want fun, repeatable content. This is what all people always wanted, and it's crazy that it took them until they were in such dire straits to finally get it. Kind of like there was always the simple solution, but to fix that simple solution, they always went around, and it all circled back to like the simple solution. Like if it needed them to get to this dire straits for them to finally hit this like panic red button, I'm glad it did because it's like now they already said that this mode is here to stay. The brave shinies are the things that are going away because they want that to be like the FOMO. This is like the big event, but the event is still like if you want to farm them.
Honestly, I don't even feel like I all that like the shiny drops have been all that great.
Yeah,
I'm just like, yeah, okay, whatever.
yeah, it's just like a different look at the weapon, and sometimes it comes with the double perks. So that's kind of like the only
Okay.
thing that would make it. But then it's like kind of like you already have rapid hit Firefly with your Hungary. It's
Right.
like if you find the rule that you're happy with, it's like that will still be in the game. And they said that they still want to see how they're gonna build up on the mode, and I hope they do because it's like unlike Gambit that they eventually gave up because the PvP aspect got ruined of that mode because everyone was just using all the high tier weapons like
Mm.
Sleeper Simulant, like Queen's Gambit. I think what was it called? It was the laser, the
Hmm.
linear fusion rifles were just like one shotting a bunch of
Oh yeah.
enemies in invasion. That was like it was just not fun. A lot of people always found that the most effective, simple way to do their kills in that thing, and they either needed to destroy the weapons for that to not be worth it, and then it was like, why would you even use the weapons in the first place? So the balance never like really worked for them.
Mm.
But this is PVE only. You don't need to balance everything. The only thing you need to know is repurpose your maps. You
Yep.
like reuse it. It's like if you reuse two maps and they work so well in this thing, it's like you have a litany of maps that have been there. It's like PvP, you're barely been doing a few stuff. They're adding three PvP maps finally in May. I definitely can't wait to see how they do because it's rare for them to drop this many three PvP maps at times because that's been so neglected for so long because they went so full on PvE. But I definitely I feel more happy about Destiny than I have felt in almost a year, which says a lot. Remember how hard we went during the Witch Queen year? It's so sad.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
it's so sad, like how far it fell. But good thing our clan has remained together even during the hard
Yep.
times, and they're all
I'm glad that
re-energized.
we all diversified stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
like our core crew was there. I even saw like a few new people that I haven't been
Mm-hmm.
talking at all. Tabsy, I think, was one
Mm-hmm.
that just showed up. I was like, I don't know who this is, but hey, they're active. All
Yeah,
right,
I
cool.
think Tapsy used to be in the previous version of this clan when
Nice.
that me and Vans used to be in. So
And like thank God for all the crew that's been holding it down all this time. I know like Vans,
mhm.
obviously firing guns.
uh,
Still waiting for JLC.
uh, yeah, I
Who's
don't
the
think
other
Jails
guy?
Buttons Kevin.
Buttons,
Yeah,
there he was.
yeah. Kevin may ever come back. Who knows? But I think we lost forever JLC forever playing Destiny again. But
Hmm.
he
I
recently
still
like
miss Yankee.
oh yeah, oh man, Yankee. Is he
Which is
alive?
weird because he wasn't the best at the game, but God bless him.
I mean, I just love the
He
idea. Yeah,
tried.
he tried so
He put
hard.
that work in.
Yeah, I just love that he was a grandpa that was playing. I
Oh
love,
yeah.
I love that from him. So
He if he passed away, his soul went into Mordecai, that's for sure.
Yeah, let's see.
I know
Yeah,
that much.
yeah, let's see if the client hears that one. But yeah, I'm excited
Bless
to
him.
play. Excited to play a little bit more Destiny because I still have a bunch of podcasts that I need to catch up on. But
100%.
enough of what we've been playing, Paul. There's just a few things that we have to get through.
Just a few.
Just a few. Press X.
Or some news.
Story number one, kind of like just a roundup. Stellar Blade review roundup. The Metacritic, OpenCritic average have come in because their embargo lifted literally an hour and 23 minutes ago. Very timely. So right now it has an 82 over on Metacritic and an OpenCritic of 85. Here's some.
I called it.
Yeah, yeah. I think you really did.
I said 83.
Yeah. So yeah, you hit it right on the money. It felt like that after the demo. So just without excerpts, here are some of the scores. Game Informer gave it an 8.75. GameSpot gave it an 8. Forbes gave it an 8. BGC gave it 4 out of 5 stars, which ranks out to an 8 out of 10. Washington Post, Jim Park gave it 3 stars out of 4, which in nomenclature that runs up to like a 7.5/10.
They're very confusing method.
Yeah, I was doing 4 stars instead of 5 because their art. It's because the arts section of that newspaper always did 4 stars. So they put his game when they folded their game launcher of Washington Post into like arts. He was like, well, I'll stick to the thing that the arts team have been using because he used to do like a full 10 scale. So, and then IGN gave it a 7. From what I've been reading, a lot of like some of the consensus is like the action is top notch. The story is whatever. That's kind of like that's kind of like the. And they say like, yeah, it's like it definitely puts a lot of focus on its sexiness and the things like that, but the action kind of like makes up for it. Like it's kind of like, so as it's kind of like the strong stuff. So yeah, we getting it.
I kind of honestly, I could take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
But let's think about it though.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about some other things. Maybe we can jump in on instead. What's the other thing that's supposed to drop? That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So like maybe we'll definitely, we've decided we're getting Sandland. Maybe let's just like think about Stellar Blade or not.
Yeah. Yeah, me is like kind of because I wanted to review it, so that's kind of like what I wanted. But Sandland, yeah, and Sandland is the one that was the leisure play because that demo was really fun. Yeah. But let's see, like weirdly the reviews are not up for Sandland, so I wonder if they're up tomorrow. So we'll see. We'll see how that one lands, pun intended. So now story number 2. Oh, Embracer Group. You probably saw the post that the tweet that I sent, like what they ended up doing. So now we're
yeah. I was in the middle of doing a lot of stuff, but I was like, oh, he got back on the soapbox for this one.
Yeah.
Because man, Embracer Group just keeps.
Yeah.
It's the gift that keeps taking.
Oh yes. So, Embracer Group to split into 3 companies, including one called Middle Earth Enterprises and Friends. Story by was a little blank from Game Informer. Embracer Group, the company that recently sold Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake developer Saber Interactive for $500 million, has announced its plans to split into 3 individual publicly traded companies. As such, Embracer Group as we know it will be no more. Instead, it will largely consist of Asmodee, Coffee Stain and Friends, and Middle Earth Enterprise and Friends. Each of these companies will be run individually and traded publicly in the market, with IP and franchises under the Embracer Group umbrella spread across them. This operation follows a rocky period for Embracer Group, which is behind layoffs at companies like Black Forest Games and Eidos Montreal, after a planned $2 billion deal with Saudi Arabia-backed Savvy Games Group fell through in 2023. During the past years, the group has made significant investments in acquisitions and into a strategy of accelerated organic growth. To further realize the untapped potential in Embracer Group and better optimize the use of its resources, Embracer Group announced a restructuring program in June 2023, divided into different phases lasting until March 2024, the company writes in a press release. Focus of the program has been cost savings, capital allocation, efficiency, and consolidation, while also divesting selected studios. Following a careful and thorough review, it is the assessment of the board of directors that the current group structure does not create optimal conditions for future value creation, both for Embracer Group's shareholders and other stakeholders. To continue the transformation of Embracer Group into the future for the benefit of all employees, gamers, and shareholders, the board of directors and the executive and management had therefore decided to propose a separation of Embracer Group, creating 3 separate publicly listed entities, the ones that I read, Bob. Embracer Group says each of these entities will have its own balance sheet, financial targets, and structure and allocation strategy. In short, each of these companies will be essentially independent of each other, even if they're formed in the same umbrella. So, under Middle Earth Enterprises and Friends, it is intended to remain a creative powerhouse in AAA game development and publishing for PC and consoles. A press release reads for this one of 3 subsidiaries. It will remain the stewards of the Lord of the Rings and Tomb Raider IPs, with its main focus being the former. It will consist of studios like Crystal Dynamics, Dambuster Studios, Eidos Montreal, Flying Wild Hog Studios, Tripwire, Vertigo Games, Warhorse Studios, 4A Games, and more, with IPs including Dead Island, Killing Floor, Kingdom Come Deliverance, The Lord of the Rings, Metro, and Tomb Raider. Then over at Coffee Stain and Friends, Embracer Group says this company is intended to consist of leading publishers and developers focused on a variety of games for PC, console, and mobile, including community-driven free-to-play games, live ops games, and indie AA games. It will operate under 2 segments according to the company, premium and free-to-play. Its premium operations include studios like Coffee Stain, Ghost Ship, Tarsier, Tuxedo Labs, THQ Nordic, and Amplifier Game Invest. Its IPs include Deep Rock Galactic, Goat Simulator, Satisfactory, Wreckfest, Teardown, Valheim, and more than 200 others. Its free-to-play operations include Easy Brain, Deca, Crazy Labs, and Cryptic, with IPs in the wheelhouse including Sudoku.com, Blockudoku, Jigsaw Puzzle, Star Trek Online, D&D Neverwinter Online, and more. And finally, we had Asmodee. Asmodee consists of 23 fully owned studios and more than 300 IPs and consists of the tabletop game section of Embracer Group. It will continue focusing on tabletop properties while collaborating in transmedia partnerships for IPs like The Lord of the Rings and others in the Embracer wheelhouse. As a global leader in board and trading card games with a proven track record of profitable growth, Asmodee is well positioned to build on a strategy and continue to prosper as a standalone entity. Its IPs include Ticket to Ride, Seven Wonders, Azul, Catan, Double, Exploding Kittens, and other board games based on The Lord of the Rings, Marvel, Game of Thrones, Netflix, Lego, and Star Wars. This transformation is an important step in unlocking shareholder value, Chair of the Embracer Group board Kiki Walji-Lund writes in a press release. With this new structure, the 3 entities will be able to focus on executing their core strategies and leveraging their own strengths, providing more differentiated and distinct equity stories to both existing and new shareholders. Embracer Group co-founder and CEO Lars Wingsfors adds, "This is the start of a new chapter, a chapter that I intend to remain part of as an active, committed, and supportive shareholder of all 3 new entities with an evergreen horizon. This move toward 3 independent companies reinforces Embracer's vision of backing entrepreneurs and creators with a long-term mindset, allowing them to continue to deliver unforgettable experiences for gamers and fans across the globe. Middle Earth Enterprises and Friends will remain within the current publicly listed Embracer Group, which itself will eventually be renamed. Asmodee and Coffee Stain and Friends will hit the market as separate companies within 12 months during the 2025 calendar year." What is the word that kept being repeated over and over and over again for why this is happening, Paul? It starts with an S.
Oh.
H. S-H.
I don't know.
Shareholders.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't know what we're talking about. I just know it's a financial failure.
Yeah.
I was about to say, Alejandro, can you make sure you flush after spewing all of that crap everywhere?
Yeah.
Because my goodness, what in the world is
Happening.
This is just Embracer doing its thing. They're trying to do this so that they can hold on to it all. And I'm sure if they're what's the word, whenever a company loses money for too many years, they start getting all fussy about it. The government does. So part of me thinks this is like a tax thing, because like they lost so much money that you can't like keep losing money forever. Like you eventually have to make something, or they won't give you like I forget the terminology right now, but basically, like, you can't get away with it forever, and they're going to come after you, the IRS. So this is like they're trying to save themselves and going like, oh yeah, we're just gonna split this and we're gonna promote entrepreneurs and do all that. And like on one hand, it probably makes it more simple because you're splitting the company into 3 like distinct kind of zones of like the kind of game that they make, which I get, and that probably makes it make more sense instead of like the Activision process where it's like, hey, we're just going to gobble you all up and you're all going to become this one conglomerate and you're all going to work on the same game. But on the other hand, it's like, my goodness, if the world still spins and capitalism keeps chugging along despite falling apart, losing pieces of the machine, and here we are,
Yeah,
all
I
the
think
same.
I think what's even funny is like for people that really found out, especially like how everything tumbled for Embracer just because a 2 billion deal with the Saudi Arabia government like tumbled for them, and then that put them in such dire straits that then they were the leaders of why we've been going through this like layoffs that have been happening. Obviously a lot of layoffs have been happening everywhere, but the worst have been happening with Embracer because of how irresponsible they were. They borrowed so much money to gobble up so much. Read it, just listen to everything that I read to you, like how much they own, and that was
Oh
even
yeah.
just that. So it's like they borrowed so much money, like they bought all of that without their own money to do that, and they became such a like such an inflated balloon that just a tiny stumble like brought the entire house of cards down. Is like, and I think probably the worst part about all of this is like, think about how they approach a lot of these developers of being like, you're all by yourself. Come over here for kind of like the safety of our conglomerate and all that. But all moves that they're doing is just to appease the motherfucking shareholders all the time. It's all about like the stockholders, shareholders. Is like, they send so many, they close studios, they send a lot of people packing and all that just to appease shareholders all the time. I tell you, it's like there's nothing worse than publicly traded companies that have to rely on like shareholders, because it's like,
It's horrible.
it's just horrendous, because it's like the treatment a lot of like these studios got, that they even reformed studios that were long gone because they wanted to like, because they acquired the IPs that were just like standing there, they wanted to use, and then like 2 years later they even closed them and they didn't even let the projects be finished and all that, just to appease shareholders because of their dropping stocks and all that. Is like, it's so funny that they were like, no, we're all about developers and entrepreneurs, but they mention shareholders so many times. Like, it's just a super gross, just super gross corporation that
Yeah.
the more people can get away from them, if they can keep like divesting, kind of like what Saber and Gearbox did, that they got out.
Hmm.
We need more of these developers to get out of there and embrace being
Mm.
being independent again, or just under a much better conglomerate that at least has a proven track record. Because this is, Embracer doesn't have the track record like backing it at all. It's like with Embracer we're seeing just like an absolute shit company that it doesn't know about quality. Is like, they chewed up more than they could, like, they bid more than they could chew, and they're just trying to figure out how to kind of like parse out so much stuff that they own. And it's like, this is why consolidation will never be something to celebrate in any industry.
Uh-huh.
This is the clear example of consolidating, and how damaging it can be, like when that consolidation has any mild trip up, if they don't, if they're not like fully if they're not fully afloat, or not fully kind of like in stable ground to be able to do all of
Right.
this. So yeah, it's like, let's see what happens now that there's three separate, no more, the Embracer group is no more, it's just been split. They beheaded it.
So like
It's
it's
like a
already
head.
happened essentially?
Yeah.
Golly.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, it's like they announced, it's like, yeah, the Embracer group is no more, we're just splitting it, and the other two companies are just gonna be put into the stock trade like in 2025 officially. They're like LLCing it. So, and then it was like, the CEO Lars, the guy that Zach said that why does he look like a punchable,
Oh yeah.
face,
Uh-huh.
like we can all blame it on that dude. Like that dude is like to blame for
Uh,
all of this, and the fact that he still wants to be involved is like, oh man, I hope that everything burns in a fire for him, because like what a damage he made to gaming by doing this.
I really hope. I hope that they get justice for
Yeah.
all of this that's going on. And it's we don't live in a world that gets justice,
Hmm.
unfortunately, but I truly hope that we can get some kind of a comeuppance for all of these people. And
Hmm.
one day they're going to be like, guys, we came up with this amazing new idea. It's what if we worked within our means?
Hmm.
That we're going to save money. Like, whoa, what a
Yeah,
concept.
exactly. Not infinite growth. So, and now final story before we move to the mini headlines of this past week. Story over at BGC is from BGC's Jordan Miller. GTA 5 Trevor actor claims he shot some stuff for DLC starring his character before it was cancelled. Info data mined from the game in 2023 suggested that a DLC pack named Agent Trevor was one of 3 cancelled expansions for the game, alongside other expansions called Zombie Apocalypse and Alien Invasion for Grand Theft Auto 5. Now in a Q&A alongside some of the game's cast as spotted by The Loadout, actor Stephen Ogg has shed some light on the project. Trevor was going to be undercover. He was working with the feds, Ox said. We did shoot some of that stuff with James Bond Trevor, where he's still kind of a F up, but he is doing his best. Then it just disappeared and they never did it. They never followed up on it. Much of the content of these proposed DLC projects was folded into Rockstar's hugely popular GTA Online, which has received regular updates including story content, while the single-player game hasn't received any DLC at all. Data mine information from GTA Online's Doomsday Heist confirmed that some of the content was adapted from the previously planned Agent Trevor DLC. While not much is known about the other two pieces of DLC, the base game of Grand Theft Auto 5 had several Easter eggs hinting at aliens hidden throughout the game. Oh yeah, I remember that. When you're in peyote. And then obviously, it's so wild that we're still hearing about GTA 5, like some GTA 5 news this late into the game. And while we're just getting so close to GTA 6, and just how subsuming GTA Online was. That, remember GTA 4, we got 2 DLCs. They were planning 3 and they just folded all this to GTA Online.
I can't believe that they were willing to do all of that. This is like one of the biggest companies of all time. And the biggest game of all time as well. How are they not able to do 2 things at once? Why is there that much money going around and being poured into this thing? Like, it's one of the first things you learn is diversify.
Yeah.
And we are still dealing with this, like, no, just put all our eggs in this one basket that happens to be doing really well. And while I am going to be there with a lot of other people on day one to see how GTA 6's online goes, I don't know if they're going to reach that same level of success at this, because now it's the same way with everybody. They always end up doing the same thing where they see what's popular and they somehow take the fun out of it so much that people just stop doing that. I expect until they shut down the servers for GTA 5, a lot of people are going to just stay on those and not even move over to 6.
Yeah, because it's like twice already they've tried to launch an online mode for their big game, and twice already that mode didn't work at launch, or there was like so wildly imbalanced, and like poor Red Dead Online has just been left to lurch now, even though the idea for it was like really fun. But it's like it's more fun to just go play the Red Dead 1 online on 360, because at the very least, like from a simple perspective, it was like it was still functional, and it's like, what do you even do in Red Dead Online nowadays? Like I don't know, but GTA 6 is just going to be a massive success just out of inertia. It's the first new GTA in probably 13 years, because like now we know it's 2025, probably 2026. I am curious if they're going to merge GTA Online and the single player all in one this time. That's kind of like what I'm curious. If instead of keeping the 2 baskets separate, they instead just built it all into one. But it's like they were already, the story trailer was like, has their trademark like polish and all that, and I'm like, those don't seem like player created characters, they seem like defined characters. It's like I really wonder how that would even work if they want to like mix both of that. But then they definitely said that they wanted to expand the city more like over time, because they didn't quite do that with GTA 5. It's like the city has just remained the same. They just kind of like paint on top of it, kind of like just as they've been updating. And hey, I mean, that thing's still so damn popular. Like, GTA 5 is the most successful game ever. But it's like it's still sad to think that all the chips went to GTA Online, when like the sanctity of the single player GTA experience was always kind of like the bread and butter that a lot of people always loved about that. The other thing was always the side. This massive single player thing that became the side, the side dish to GTA Online. So now, Paul, now we move to some headlines. we got a few here. So Metaphor ReFantasio, the new game by the team that created Persona 5, gets an October 11, 2024 release date in a new gameplay trailer and showcase that happened earlier this week. I got to see the showcase last weekend. That has shot up into one of my most anticipated games for this year. They've done a few interesting things in quality of life stuff for the Persona formula. Like, for example, they have added actually a real-time action combat, like as you're kind of like going around.
Really?
That if there's like enemies that are weak or more rank and file, you can slash them quickly, and then the more tanky enemies, you can start slashing and then go into turn-based mode. That's similar to Persona. And they kind of mentioned that as a way to speed up dungeon crawling, or just to improve the pace of, you don't always have to constantly have to be doing turn-based combat on every enemy that you find like in the dungeon,
They
considering how
did
long this
have
game.
that after a while in Persona 5, where if you ran into an enemy that was too weak, it would just instantly
Yeah.
kill them.
Mm-hmm.
But it was still like it froze time, you got the item, and then it would like kind of move on. So it's kind of cool that they just uh condensed it to, all right, you get powerful, you just
Slash, and you
splash
can
through people.
yeah, and you
It's
can
kind of
dodge and all
awesome.
that, and then like it's a I see it as kind of like the other side of the coin approach to the remake rebirth like Final Fantasy 7 like approach, that it's like you have your real time attacks, but it's like a lot of the big damage that you make is through the slow down and do like your ATV moves and all that.
Right.
But that was always like real time. In this one is like you go into the tournaments, you know, like the character goes to like the side, it's like it has the stylish menus and all that, but it doesn't like detank your enemies after you just initially like damage them. So I feel that's a really good way of keeping both keeping more of a pace. And I was like, that feels like something that, especially with the setting, I was getting to see more like a very Gravity Rush style, like more fantasy stuff. And also it's T rated, one of the first T rated games, and in like forever, so it's not gonna be as heavy as Persona can sometimes get, with like 3 with the suicide thing, or like
Yeah.
or 5 with like the abusive
No,
coach from the
5
very
also had
yeah.
suicide and drug references and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
other stuff. I mean, I do appreciate that those still remained pretty reserved in their
Mm-hmm.
use of the M rating.
Yeah.
But also like, sometimes you can make a really good story with T ratings
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of like lighter references to things. I mean, you just look at, I know it's a different medium, but Avatar: The Last Airbender
Mm-hmm.
being Y7, and you get to talk about genocide
Yeah.
and horrible things at all times. It's just you got to be clever about it. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, coming finally, I got an October game. We're slowly. We're now at the point now. We're getting close to showcase season. We need to start filling up that second half of the year. After a
True.
really stellar first 4 months, a lot of people have been like, I've been seeing a lot of discourse. Some people say that gaming is in a rut, and I'm like, no, not even close. I
Hmm.
I even saw it, like I think I posted that tweet thread of like a conversation of somebody like yeah, think this is like a quiet year, and then someone is like, I don't know why this is quiet. It's like I have all this stuff, and then she mentions like it's all about like the first party are not saying much. It's like if you're narrow minded in like what makes like a big something, and then kind of like you know what that means of first party, the
Right.
overly cinematic third person, like you can look at ports and faces kind of games. Like yeah, those games have not been here. I have not
Yeah.
cared. I have not
It's
cared in the
just
slightest.
depends on what you like, and there's
Mm-hmm.
still so much stuff coming out at all times.
Mm-hmm.
It's just,
Yeah.
my goodness, there's not enough time to play everything.
Yes, and I will say this that if you compare January to April 2023 to January April 2024, 2024 has been significantly stronger start to the year. Obviously, 2023 became goated status from May onwards. Jedi, Zelda, Final Fantasy, Diablo, and everything that
True.
came like, kind of after. So maybe overall, kind of like in the second half and all that, then 2023 ends up kind of like the more stronger year overall. But God, this first 4 months, like you just have to be very close minded to think there's been like nothing. It's like this has been like one of the most rich game releases, like game release calendars in years. Like very rich and also high quality. So it's like a lot of these things have been like reviewing high 80s and 90s for people that care about reviews also. So it's like there's been more of that per capita than we even got last year,
Hmm.
like last year. So around this time, Paul, the big things we had played were Dead Space and Resident Evil 4. That was it. Of things that were actually
Yeah.
legit quality. So
Gosh.
it's like people have like really selective memory. It really have selective
Yeah,
short
I think
memory.
they do.
Yeah. So, speaking of Dead Space, second headline: EA Japan criticizes Japanese rating board for banning Dead Space in the country but passing Stellar Blade. So,
Ooh, that's funny.
yeah, that one's like really funny. But I also feel like Dead Space is also very, very, very gory with like the dismemberments and all that. And
Yeah.
there's one dismemberment happening like early in Stellar Blade, like early in the demo. That chick that saves you
Oh
gets
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
yeah, gets her
That's
arm cut
true.
off and all that. So I don't think Stellar Blade is just as gory, but it's just so funny that he was like, they banned her, but look, there's dismemberment here. Like they let it pass. So,
Yeah, that is kind of weird. And I have a feeling that there's got to be more of that in Stellar Blade, even if there's not as much, but
mm,
it clearly appeals to a lot of their audience a little
mm,
bit more, so maybe that's why they like turned a blind eye. I don't know.
yeah, we'll see. The next headline: ID at Xbox Digital Showcase announced for next week. So for people that don't know, ID at Xbox is kind of like Xbox indie initiative that they spotlight indies to independent like bigger games, kind of like in a big stream. Uh, in fact, one of those ID Xbox Digital Showcase that was where we learned about Alan Wake, more info about Alan Wake 2, and even Metal Gear Solid Delta. So it's like there's more in these showcases than they usually seem. And again, just continues that show because Xbox has so much. Like they tend to be the ones that feed us info in the showcase format. So that's happening next week.
Hmm.
Now we got Tales of the Shire's first trailer reveals it is Middle Earth Animal Crossing with hobbits. So Tales of the Shire is the first game that came from the Private Division / Weta Workshop partnership that we had heard a few years ago that Weta Workshop wanted to make like a get into actual Lord of the Rings games because it was like they kind of saw the market. They was like, we have the tech, let's do it. But the first one that they're doing is literally an Animal Crossing Middle Earth game with hobbits. So
Honestly,
it
I appreciate the restraint
mm,
to make something because like I did hear that there was a lot of people that were like, "Yo, this is actually freaking awesome of a concept." I am not going to be playing this at all.
yeah,
Um,
it's just not my
not
kind
my
of.
thing.
Yeah, it's just not my thing. But I appreciate that it's like something so wholesome
It's
that
something
they're.
different from Gollum.
Yeah. Oh yes. So and at the very least, this is being done by the people that have worked directly with the property. So
Right.
then another headline: Samus from Metroid didn't appear in
Hmm.
Fortnite because Nintendo wanted her to be a Switch exclusive. So this was information that came from an interview that Steven Totilo, who used to be the editor in chief of Kotaku and worked at Axios and now has like his own Substack. He talked with Donald Mustard, a former head of Epic, next to Tim Sweeney, who left the
His
company.
name is Mustard?
Yeah, Donald Mustard. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, during that interview, he was kind of mentioning things like he regretted that Fortnite moved away from the live model of like doing concerts and like did you know that the live event uh,
Yeah.
that you kind of had to be there because he
Yeah.
felt that was kind of like the special sauce and now he feels like everything that used to be about that has been like all segmented to the different games they put into the system. So he was kind of like talking about his regrets
Oh,
because it's like he felt that they needed to push that, but apparently like Epic itself was like, that's kind of unsustainable. Let's do it more like in the game side, like in the game side, turned to do like a live
that's
thing.
interesting.
And during that interview, it came up that they wanted even more crossover between like all the different brands, kind of like how Master Chief made it into the game, Kratos from God of War made it to the game. I think
Right.
Aloy from Horizon made it. I could be wrong about
No,
that
I
one.
think that sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah. So and they wanted Nintendo stuff to also kind of make it for to kind of like complete that whole skin crossovers that they tend
Hmm.
to do. And Nintendo was like, if we're putting Samus, she's staying just on Switch. So it would be kind of like if you're only playing on Switch, like Samus would be the one there. But if you're like seeing a person play as Samus,
Hmm.
he would show up as the regular
Like a
skincare,
default,
like
right?
like a default. And then Epic was like, no, that's not the. Then let's not do it
No.
because that's not the. That is not the idea of what we want. Like the idea of like this whole
Right.
metaverse is everyone existing, kind of like how eventually Sony relented. And the fact that you can play as Kratos on Xbox is weird, but it's like it works. Like you can see, it's like that's kind of like the magic of Fortnite. Those crossovers.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Nintendo got a Nintendo on that one, but and
Always.
then other Fortnite adjacent news. Billie Eilish is headlining Fortnite Festival Season 3. So kind of like how Lady Gaga was like the
Yeah.
Fortnite Festival Season 2 like feature. Now it's Billie Eilish. I don't know many songs from her. I know just the stuff. I don't know what you're talking about song, but it's like or the one that was in the Madam Web trailer. It's like the only Billie Eilish songs that really like pop up for me. Uh,
I don't remember which one that is, but I've learned that apparently she's a really good singer, but she
no.
just doesn't have very good like music, at least that I enjoy.
Mm,
I don't know if that's like a production thing or if she just writes a lot of like what's gonna get popular and then does like her own thing later on. But I mean, power to her. I'm not a
yeah.
big like Billie Eilish person, but I know that she puts a lot of work into what she
Yeah,
does.
she
So
she definitely is popular. Like she's definitely one of the more popular, like more modern artists that exist. It's just
right,
that she's definitely not my kind of music. So I'm not a
yeah.
like
But
I
like
wasn't.
full respect to all that she does. She's at least not like a piece of crap that a lot of people are, like
Mhm.
Ariana Grande,
Yeah.
um, or anything like that. So good
Now
for her. Get
yeah,
that money.
the big question is when is Taylor Swift showing up? She's got to be at season
It's
4.
got to be only like a matter of
Yeah,
time. But honestly, she also makes so much money that maybe she just doesn't feel like doing that. Who knows?
she definitely is that kind of like she has that kind of clout to be able to say no to that.
She could.
And then also a final Fortnite headline: Fortnite adds new setting to hide controversial, confrontational emotes. So apparently there were some people getting offended of people doing like emotes that were like controversial, like confrontational. So
Huh.
they added a new filter that if they enable it, like they are not gonna see like those like people the emos are for more like fight me or something or something
Hmm.
like that. So I was like
Weird.
weird stuff, and again some people are weird, but I mean Fortnite is just that big of a game that why not add
Yep.
like something as
Why not?
stupid as that.
I mean, if they're already getting so many people, if they're like, there's another demographic that we can get, let's just add a setting to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it like that's an easy fix for them, I guess, because all you have to do is block an emote.
Mm-hmm.
I do know some people have been doing like weird like sexual harassment stuff because there's some like humping style
Oh yeah.
emojis or emotes or other. And I've seen a few of those where people will like jump up at your character and like do the move. Um,
Do you remember when Fortnite tried to do something like Juneteenth, like like the whole kind of like,
oh no.
and apparently there was like a whip, like a whip
Oh my
emote,
gosh.
and
Yeah.
they had to shut that down like so quick because a lot of people, of course, because they're degenerates.
Mm. Yep, I remember now because people were really excited about having the whip emote, and then that Frieza was coming in because
Uh-huh.
Frieza is famously like just super racist and stuff. So they were
Yeah.
like, "Yo, this is perfect. I'm gonna do this thing." It's terrible, but yeah,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. And then final headline for this episode: Meta Facebook partners with Xbox as it opens Quest OS to third-party hardware makers. So basically, like Xbox has been one of the few, like next to Nintendo, that didn't want to get fully into the VR headset because trying to make a VR headset is like so expensive. But since they are such a software-based company, they were like, what if we like partner with one that is actually making the hardware and try to mix with their Meta Quest OS, so that more third-party developers will try to like brand associated with us, like in the VR market, as we go with like the guys that are actually nailing VR currently with Quest, with how cheap this headset has gotten now, especially with the Quest 2, and not having to rely on having to play in a console, kind of like the PSVR 2, that its biggest like flunders right now is like the fact that it's such an expensive headset by itself. You need the expensive console to play with that headset. That's like $1,000 like commitment. So,
Hmm.
and MetaQuest has eliminated that barrier by finally being like a standalone headset that you don't need a CPU for, unless you want like the most high end of high end stuff. So that's why now Xbox is being like, it's gonna like cheekily sneak their way into trying to be part of like that market without really being kind of like the hardware manufacturers for it. They're gonna like just I feel that's the smart way to do it, because like it's a good way to like do it in the cheap but also in an effective way And also
Yeah,
they were already
I
kind of partnered because you can do Xbox cloud gaming with the headset. They have the
mhm.
Xbox app there. You just need like an Xbox controller. You can put the
Hmm.
headset on and log into Xbox Cloud and like stream your games into the headset. So strengthening their partnership.
It's like I'm good, glad for them, and I hope that this slowly starts to make things like VR a little bit more approachable because I feel like Sony's already given up and
Mm-hmm.
everybody else like they try and they don't put enough of like that. Hey, you need to make this affordable and keep it available for several years. You
Mm-hmm.
can't just give up instantly, if you're gonna make this catch on. So
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
like, it's so funny. Like, Apple already hit the PSVR 2 kind of like problem where they stopped manufacturing like new units because
gosh,
I'm like, with Apple, I'm like, what were they expecting? Their stupid headset is $3,500. It's
it's
like,
ridiculous.
so it's like, sometimes there's like the mindset of like some of these hardware manufacturers in the VR space has been really, really strange. But hey, at the very least, it's like I know that Meta they found a way. They are actually like putting out games. They put Asgard's Wrath 2 last year, and that was like a 10 out of 10 game. That was like the one that Travis reviewed. It was like finally like a killer app for the VR platform, and that was like in a headset. You could play it in a headset that you don't need a computer for. So there, it's like that's the way, because that's the only way for a VR to ever hit. It's like it cannot be a device that requires two and two to tango. So. And Xbox is being smart, being like they don't want to invest in the hardware because they're like already investing in other kind of hardware, or more like they want to invest in software. So why not do that? If they're already kind of like working deep in your relationship, that's the smart way to go. And now, Paul, the game releases for the final week of April to May 4th. Take it away.
All right, we got El Shaddai, Ascension of the Metatron, HD remaster on the Switch on April 28th. Braid Anniversary Edition.
Actually, no. Deleted. Yeah,
that was last week.
Yeah, they deleted it. They deleted
anyway,
it.
Front Mission 2 remake on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC on April 30th. Sea of Thieves, PlayStation 5, April 30th. Endless Ocean Luminous on Switch, May 2nd. Why does that sound like some kind of tech demo that Kojima Productions would put out? Indica on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PC, May 2nd. Then we got MotoGP 24, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on May 2nd. And Surmount on Switch and PC, May 2nd.
Yeah. El Shaddai, this was an
That was the Wii game.
360 and PS3 game.
360, that's what it was.
Yeah, from 2011. So it's like
I remember seeing it on the shelves all the time because I was like, El Shaddai, that's like a biblical thing.
Oh, it is.
Like I always loved the art, was like so cool. The guy was drawing the sword across and it had the crazy colors on it.
Yeah, it has a game with a lot of like biblical terminology. It's like and it was kind of like a devil,
like very Japanese, so it's like not at all related to actual Christianity.
Yeah, it's like it was their own interpretation of it, and also was a sort of Devil May Cry style like action game that weirdly the weird thing about that game was the fact that it had no HUD for the first time you play that game, and it was until you beat it you could unlock a HUD. So it was like a lot. Yeah, so it was a really strange game, but it was also very evocative and very unique in that 2011 period. And also this was a summer game, so. El Shaddai and also Shadows of the Damned were like I remember those were the two summer 2011 games that were like, okay, we're in the.
What kind of kid were you? Did you play Shadows of the Damned or El Shaddai?
And there's a remaster coming for Shadows of the Damned later this year too, so it's so funny. Like,
of course there is.
13 years later, damn, amazing. 13 years later, it's like these games come back. I don't know why this is just on Switch, but I would love to see it on other platforms too.
Yes.
Front Mission's always that interesting Square Enix JRPG, a robot JRPG. So these remakes were first on Switch, and now they're on all platforms. So
wasn't this the that's like Fire Emblem strategy?
Yeah, it's kind of like a Fire Emblem strategy like mech game. That's like so.
That might be like a pick it up on sale kind of situation.
Oh yeah, and then obviously Sea of Thieves is like has been like burning the charts at the PSN pre-orders. A lot of people really are excited for Sea of Thieves. So it's like
I could see that.
Yeah, and they're getting the best version of that game now because after this is like
apparently it's got updates even compared to the Xbox. Like it looks better.
Yeah, it's so weird that it's like it's again like the weird thing that a lot of PS5 versions run or slightly look better than the more powerful hardware that is the Xbox. That's always so weird how that happened. Even though there's moments where there's a few Xbox versions that do look better than PS5, but it's not like when we remember back in 2020 when we read the specs, it was like it felt like Xbox was gonna clean up, like because they had the on paper better hardware.
Yeah, should have, but that goes to show doesn't matter how much power you have unless you know how to use it.
Yeah, and then Endless Ocean Luminous. That's a remaster of a Wii game. Like it's like a diving game, like in the ocean and all that. So it's like that was like a one more thing in one of the later directs that a lot of people made fun of. Be like, man, Nintendo really like overestimated like the love for Endless Ocean from back in the Wii to bring it back like in remake form. But yeah, that's over there for the Switch. But later on May for the Switch is The Excitement, which is Paper Mario 1,000 Year Door. So can't wait for that one. Definitely like not much for next week, so wallet will be like happy because the releases are this week. So
Yeah, I was gonna say like the wallet's gonna hurt this week. That's for
yeah, this
sure.
week. But then then the rest of May is gonna be cheap, Paul, because Hellblade is Game Pass. There's not much. I really have to look at that calendar
Yeah,
for like what else. So we might be having some like quiet times to catch up on a bunch of stuff because I have
I think that's
I
okay with me.
yeah, oh yeah, especially for you. So Paul,
Yeah.
we reached the end of this week's episode. Where can people find you?
As always, y'all can find me at Dork of Art on Twitter. And yeah, that's it still.
Yeah, just
Until
Twitter.
they come up with some kind of alternative to Twitter, then you'll find me there, I'm sure. I
Threads.
a good alternative to Twitter that actually has all of the people where you don't feel like you're missing out on everything. That's
Yeah,
the important.
that's kind of like
Whenever like the majority finally switches to something else, that's where I'll be.
yeah, that's kind of what keeps me on
Um,
Twitter also because a lot of people has just cultivated older followings there, and it sucks
yep.
because it's like Twitter is the worst it's ever been with so much the porn bots always like in every reply now.
Just yep, all the weird AI stuff
Hmm.
and
The engagement
uh
farming.
our great overlord deciding on a whim whenever he gets high to like institute something else,
Uh,
or how he fires a whole lot of people for telling him that his idea isn't a great one.
hmm.
It's very like feudal European situation right now, honestly.
Yeah, it's just you can find me on Twitter at a_josegovia. You can find me on Threads / Instagram at alejandrosegovia93, and then you can find my written content over at seasongaming.com and my old content over at thecriticalcorner.com. You can read my reviews for The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, Grand Blue Fantasy Reeling, Skull and Bones, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Final Fantasy XVI's The Rising Tide over at seasongaming.com. And my next review, well, I was planning on Stellar. I still plan that to be Stellar Blade, depending on for this Friday and how long it takes. I might preview that TMNT game that just recently came out.
No
They
way.
sent us code, and I was like, I might. So they sent us the request yesterday. So that game's
That's
already.
amazing.
So they sent us. I was like, you know what? I heard this is short. I need something kind of like simple because all the reviews that I've done are always like these massive hour investments. So it's like I need something a little bit quicker
Sure.
to kind of like build up my numbers and my portfolio. So I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Even though this is made by the people that made the Walking Dead game from last year, the Avatar Last Vendor,
Oh.
Avatar Last Vendor game from last year, and also Kong Skull Island game.
Oh
But
no.
from I was talking with Travis about it. It's like this has actually reviewed better than their pieces of crap from last year. So we'll see how that goes. So
Okay.
yeah, so they're supposedly gonna send me it. If they don't send code, it's like no. But if they end up sending it, it's like yeah, I just kind of want to do more of those. Yeah, they send us code. I want to cover this for you. So
All right.
that poll, that's it for this week's episode. And everyone, thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. We're getting so close for a milestone episode. We wouldn't have done it without you and seeing like that. I've been loving how video this year has been like better than we did last year. That has been like because audio is still like growing. Like that has been like consistently a good area for us, but video has finally kind of like picking up the slack this year because last year for video was bad for us, like really really bad. Like 2022 was
Oh
even
yeah.
better for us, but audio was the one that kept that kept it going. But video has finally like catching up, and I think it's been some of those the videos that I posted on Thursday have done better. So
Uh-huh.
so yeah, we're definitely gonna keep on that. So Paul, good to see you. Hope you have a good rest of the day because it's an early morning for me. It's now you're 12, and
Yes, indeed.
you have a full day ahead of you.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Always full.
uh,
Always full. Nothing to just chill out with.
yes, and then everyone else, thank you so much for listening and watching. If you like what you watch or listen, give us a like, give us a subscribe, share it, maybe leave a review in your podcast service of choice. We want to hear from you. And until then, enjoy the end of this month because May is finally around the corner. Summer is here. And until then,
Press X.
to play.
Good night, everybody.
Hasta la vista, baby.